Hi, everyone. This is Christine Thompson. We're a lead agent of the CT team at Baird and Warner, and welcome for joining. I have another service series video for you today, and today I'm going to be talking about how to declutter, pack, prepping your house. Aside from the staging part, what are you going to do before even the stager comes in? And this is where I'm going to be introducing you to Karen Stahlecker. Karen has her own business called Clutterless Professional Organizing. So Karen, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of, want to pick your brain a little bit on how advice you can give to people about, getting their house ready before it's going on the market. And I hire a stager, and the stager may come in and do her thing, but it's like they got to get the house ready for the stagers. The stager isn't going to come in there and clean up and pack and all of that stuff. And I get a lot of sellers that are just overwhelmed. They're like, I've been in my house for 30 years.
Right.
And they're like, I don't know where to start. And sometimes they get so overwhelmed, they just never get their house ready and on the market, and they miss out on opportune times to be on the market. So, what would you think, if you walked into a house and there was just stuff all over, 30 years of living in that house, which is very common.
Right.
How would you approach that owner to help them break it down so they're not freaked out?
Right. Well, I think I actually helped someone move this summer who had been in their house for 52 years. And, I think I came up with a 5-page list of to-dos, which can be overwhelming. So I actually, as I talked to you recently, created a home pre-sales consultation service because I saw how overwhelming it can become to somebody, just like you mentioned. And I don't know if you knew, but I literally counted. I moved 16 times in 32 years. So I have a lot of experience with packing and moving.
Yes, you do.
And my ex-husband and I have been in the property management business in Chicago for over 25 years. I have my own firm now. And so I have a lot of experience staging condos and apartments and cleaning out the places when it was time to sell and buy another property. But, organization is the key. And I am, highly organized. So this new business that I was telling you about, I created because I see a real need. People don't know where to begin. And like you said, if it's a house you've lived in for decades, you look at it and you're so overwhelmed by the whole process, just the thought of where to begin is overwhelming that you don't even begin, you don't start. So I think to go in,
Yeah, so you being so organized and a way of thinking organized format, how do you break it down?
Well, that's what I spent a lot of time creating a proprietary spreadsheet where I go into somebody's house, and it isn't really very pricey, and actually walk through it with them, and we prioritize what are the A's that they need to do before they market, what are the B's that they should do, and what are the things that are for staging that they can wait because they need to focus right now on what are the main things. What's going to hurt a sale if you don't do it? If you've got a cracked front stoop and you've got you need a paint job in the exterior of the home, things that are going to automatically turn off the seller or make people think your home is worth less than it is, I believe need to be addressed. So I actually did this recently for my own home. I came up with one entire document of everything I want to do before I listed in the next 2 years, but then I broke it down and I sorted the A priorities, the B priorities, the C priorities, the things to do for staging. And so now I actually have on my bulletin board the A's, and I'm working on them now. So to be selective in what you start on is important because, again, you can spend time and money on things that maybe won't necessarily affect the sale and marketing of the home as things that are key that you have to address. And I do think sometimes it's good to have somebody who's keeping you accountable. Yeah. So once there is a list, somebody, who calls in and says, hey, how's the list coming? Did you, mutually, if we set timetables of when you're going to work on things, and I do know people are on a budget. This service I'm offering is not something where I'm saying I'm going to come in and do it and you need me to do it. It's more, here, let me help you decide where to start and what needs to get done.
Okay, so would you call it almost like you're kind of coaching them through it?
And then absolutely, yeah. With all my years of experience in real estate, helping them first identify what needs to be done, and then helping them prioritize and strategize. And then absolutely, if they want someone who follows up with them weekly and says, did you meet that time, that to do, I'll be happy to do that too, because there is a lot to do and it is overwhelming.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You talked about prioritizing A list, B list, C list. Would that be kind of like, okay, what do you need to keep out and keep using? What can you put away until you move? And
absolutely,
what do you never need again?
Right. And I did that with my client this summer, 86-year-old woman, is addressed what we went room by room, closet by closet. We actually started with all the closets, which I think was a good idea. And also on the spreadsheet, I had which pieces of furniture needed to be removed and by whom, which pieces needed to be donated, who would handle the donation, which pieces needed to be recycled, who would take that to the recycling. So, I think it's important too to sometimes delegate responsibilities, within the home.
Make them take ownership a little bit.
Yeah. Right. And, I think you found this happens. The process moves a lot quicker than we think. We think we've got plenty of time. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, it's February. If I want to get my house listed for the spring market, I've got all this stuff to do now, which is why I honestly believe if you come through my home, you will see my closets are ready now. I mean, I always am decluttering. I'm always going to the donation center and getting rid of stuff. I'm giving away stuff. I'm selling stuff regularly, which is a nice source of added income, by the way, on the side.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm right now, I'm selling an old dome hockey set and a bumper pool table. Anything that I can get rid of my house now, because I think I found too, getting rid of those bigger items is harder. Towards the end.
All these little things that, if people have time, they're like, hey, I'm going to put the house on the market like in 3-4 months from now. So I have time to get through my house, get through those closets and everything. And they're discovering things like, yeah, I'm never going to use it, but wow, maybe I can sell it. What kind of sources could they use to sell stuff?
Well, I actually use Facebook Marketplace a lot because you can actually see the person that you're interacting with. One of the neighbors here across the street from you was trying to sell her minivan, believe it or not, on Craigslist. And a lot of people don't use Craigslist as much as they used to. And I actually yelled across the street last week, try Facebook Marketplace. And she texted me Monday, said, I owe you a big thank you. And I'm thinking, what is she thanking me for? And then she said she had like 357 people look at the van and she had multiple offers.
Wow.
And so, I have sold things over the pandemic. I usually wear a mask, have the item in the garage, have somebody with me. And, I do tell the people they have to carry it. One guy didn't show up with a helper and I had to help him carry my foosball table out of the basement. Don't ever do that again.
Right. Make clear about the procedure.
Yeah, but there's security steps you can take, and I usually have them put the money in a plastic bag, and I sanitize. So
there's definitely ways to work around. I've had sellers where they just leave it on the porch and they say, show me the check, and then
I've done that too. Exactly. So I definitely think getting rid of the big ticket items while you can. If there are things you still want in your home, like let's say it's an elderly couple, if they talk when the family comes over, walk through the house and see what pieces the people might want in time. My client, I'm sorry, what?
That's been a classic story of how, somebody's in their house for 50 years. They raise their kids in the house. The kids are now grown out, raising their own families, and they still have stuff from their kids, housing it in their house. And they're like, kids, you need to come over and get your stuff,
Exactly. Set a deadline because kids will say that they want it. Although what happened with the senior client of mine is that people came too early. Her one granddaughter took all her recliner chairs, and so she had to sit on a outdoor chair in the basement to watch TV, and then somebody else took the kitchen table. So try to time it where you've got furniture left before your move.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what would you say would be your best advice, to wrap this up? What would be your best advice to someone if you couldn't go over to their house and they called you and said, Karen, I'm going to do this myself, but what would you break it down to as your best advice to get the house cleared out and organized in an orderly fashion?
Well, first of all, let me say I would be willing, if it's somebody who's afraid to have me into their house, even though I wear masks and gloves, to do virtual assistance. So if they literally showed their computer or phone and walked through the rooms, and I would take notes, and then I could provide them with a written documentation with some ideas. But you're talking about advice you can never start too early. Things always come up. I mean, my own home in Downers Grove, 3 years ago, I thought I had plenty of time to get it ready to sell. And then my dad was in the hospital, and it was a 6-week period of, visiting the hospital every day. All I can say is, thank goodness I already had the closets ready, the garage cleaned out. So the sooner you can start, the better. And to be honest with you, this pandemic and more time at home is a great time to start decluttering. Get rid of stuff. That's the best thing you can do. Get rid of the things, the big items, the stuff you no longer use. Donate it, sell it, recycle it, give it away to family.
Okay, so basically stay on top of your stuff.
Yes.
If you don't need it, get rid of it. Don't let it pile up and accumulate, and make some money selling it.
You can. I mean, and even $20, $25 here and there, in my mind, is money I didn't have in my pocket. And I also donate a lot. If I can't sell it, I just took a bunch of stuff, to Goodwill last week. I donate a lot too, but I try to sell it. And, when you donate, one thing I helped my daughter is to think about the fact that when you donate something that used to bring you joy and maybe doesn't anymore, you can bring joy to someone else.
Absolutely.
If they can pick up something cheap that you loved and you're giving them joy, it's kind of like a pay it forward. So I kind of like that. Encourages people to donate.
I agree with that. And it's also recycling. We don't want landfill.
I recycle everything. And it's upsetting when I go and see people's garbage cans and I see things, oh, that could have been donated,
Yeah, right. Well, you always hope maybe someone drives by and picks it up.
Yeah, I do encourage that. Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, Karen, I really appreciate your time. Everyone, Karen's fabulous. If you are feeling overwhelmed and you just need at least some coaching advice, you can call Karen. As she said, she can come in person, or she can just do FaceTime with you, and just you really stay on top of it. So that way, even if you're not thinking of selling now, but maybe it'll be in a few years from now when that time comes, and it might come sooner than predicted.
Exactly.
You are ready and you're not panicking. So give Karen a call. Her phone number is right there. You can call her anytime, or you're free to call me as well if you want to run things by me too. I appreciate all of you watching, and thank you, Karen, again for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
okay.
And, we'll be working together, getting our clients in order.
That's right. Okay, thank you, Christine.
Thanks, Karen. Have a great day.
Okay, stay well, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.